everyone, welcome to this behind the studio door video, and today we are in the beautiful town of Malvern in Worcestershire, and we are visiting the amazingly talented Deb Stanley in her studio. So I hope you enjoy this one. It's again very inspiring. If you can hear any noise in the background, that's the crazy studio assistant that we all got, and she will be making an appearance in the video too.
Hello, I'm Deb Stanley. You'll know me online as Deb Stanley Art, and I'm here with Lisa Ann Watkins of Animal Art by Law to tell you a little bit about my story, my background story. I originally started from a sewing and knitting background. Mum and my nan both had knitting, wool and fabric shops, and that's where my love of colour started. So I was always knitting and making handicrafts, using drawing as a way to create something rather than having drawing as the finished product. So that's where I originally started from, and it wasn't until later on, and I happened to see a Bob Ross programme, and I thought, let's have a go at oil painting. Now at the time I was working in a primary school as a teaching assistant for 4 and 5 year olds, so I was using coloured pencils and paints and things with the children all the time, but still not creating my own artwork. So I bought these oil paints to give it a whirl, and started with those, using coloured pencils to plan the paintings out and give me some idea of what I was trying to do. Worked on that for a little while. It didn't last too long because I had 2 relatively young children still at the time, and the oil paints were extremely messy, and it took a lot of time to set up and put away again. And then one day we had a major catastrophe when I had a large painting dry in, and my cat walked all over it, spreading paint over the 3-piece suite and the cream carpet and everything else all over the living room, and that was it. The oils had to go. So I thought, right, oils can go. My drawings had been getting more and more detailed, so that's where I thought, that's where we'll carry on. So bought another set of coloured pencils. I already had some Derwent Colour Soft and decided they're not quite good enough. Let's go for polychromos. Tried them, and that was it as far as drawing was concerned.
When was that, Deb? How long
that
ago
was 2012 I did the oil painting, and then by 2013 the oils had gone, but like I say, it was very short-lived. So 2013 I picked up pencils and started just doing bits. I was still at work then, but by the end of 2013 I'd left work. We had a little bit of a falling out, so I left there. Took a bit of time to recuperate and reassess, and was supposed to be going back to work full-time somewhere else, but decided for the time being, let's carry on with drawing. So I carried on with drawing for a while, and I haven't looked back. Carried on with artwork rather than going back to work full-time, which has been rather lovely.
Can you remember your first piece that you did with colour pencils?
My first proper piece, I did a few small little ones, doodles. My first proper piece was called Home Sweet Home, and there's a reason why I remember that, because later on it was one piece that I went back to for other reasons. So that was 2013 I did Home Sweet Home, and then I did a few in black and white polychromos using the greys as well. My father-in-law's tractor was one, which went really well. I entered it into a competition, and I went into the beginner section since I'd only been using coloured pencils for 6 months. And they took one look and said, no, you can't, it's got to go into the advanced section. And I thought, oh. So, well, my lucky fluke drawing was chucked into a higher section, which had no hope of winning at all, but there you go. It was just one of those things. It was just assumed it was a more advanced one than I could actually do, but that was because it was in black and white. I did a few others in black and white. I did some zebras, which I enjoyed doing, and I did wonder about doing graphite instead of coloured pencils, but I decided no, I like the colours, and if I can do black and white with the coloured pencils or colour with them, then I'm better off sticking with them, and so that's how I carried on. And apart from my father-in-law's tractor, the next thing I wanted to do was just keep expanding what I could actually do, the different textures and the different things I could do. And to do that I had to have photographs, and I didn't like using other people's photographs because I always had the feeling that you were then reading, oh, it's such and such by Deb Stanley, photographed by somebody else, and I always felt that somebody else's name might get more recognition than mine. So I thought that's what I want to do from the start off, is use my own photos so that I'm the one. And the other reason why I didn't want to do other people's photographs is because I've seen several versions online where you see an artist has done a picture, then somebody else has done the same photograph, and somebody else has done the same photograph, and I didn't like the thought that someone else could have the chance of copying the same photograph that I was using. Mm-hmm. So it was always important to me to use my own photos. So when I first started out with that, I needed to find things I could photograph easily myself, which was insects, flowers, cakes, lots and lots and lots of cakes.
And chocolate.
And around that time there was a lot of cakes around because Bake Off was on, the Great British Bake Off. So the first the one series, I sort of followed it and I thought, great, I'll draw a cake to go with this episode. And then the next episode I did one, and the next episode, and it ended up that year that I did a calendar of cakes, just a small little calendar of cakes, and that went really well. And they are such wonderful things to draw. You can draw a cake, and if it's a bit crumpled, that's fine. It doesn't matter. If it's a person, people complain. If it's a cake, it really doesn't matter. If it goes wrong, you cover it up with a bit of a chocolate chip or a bit of icing. But it's a brilliant way to learn how to do lots of different textures. You've got lovely shiny icing, or you've got crumbly layers, and you'd be surprised how many of these different textures you can use in other work. Mm-hmm. So cakes for me was a great learning curve. I learnt form, I learnt shape, I learnt how to do depth and 3D, such basic shapes, and then you can just improve on that. So the cakes were a major turning point for me in how to get finer realism and finer skills. The next one was my gems.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that was an accident. I just happened to see this one gem, thought, great, that's lovely. Took a photograph of it and thought, oh, that's going to be really nice, I'm going to really enjoy drawing that. So I drew the first couple of facets, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to get to the end of this and that'll be it. I'll never draw another one of these. This is an absolute nightmare. Got to the end of it and loved it so much. I've now got about, 12, I've got, maybe 13 different coloured gems, because you just draw a facet and then you draw another one and then you draw another one. They are so easy to just pick up and stop and start, and each facet is like its own little universe. It's fascinating to draw. I really enjoy doing those.
I would imagine something like the gems are a really good one for beginners and those that haven't got time to sit there all day. So like you say, you can walk away, come back and just go, right, I've got time to do that one facet today.
Yeah. And
it just simplifies it down. If I'm only looking at that facet, all the shapes, colours, tones within there. Yeah. And that would be a really good project for people, rather than being overwhelmed by the whole picture.
Yeah, and you don't even, because you can turn your head off into a certain degree, you turn your brain off and you're just drawing what you see in front of you, rather than trying to overthink it and think, oh, I've got to try and get that to look deeper than that. You don't. You just draw the facet with the bits that are blurred or bits that are crisp, whichever it needs. Mm-hmm. The first one I drew, which was like a diamond colour, I hadn't realised till I was virtually all the way through it. My husband looked over my shoulder and said, oh, I can see you've done a self-portrait. And I said, I beg your pardon, my face is actually in the diamond and I hadn't even noticed, because I was so concentrated on the tiny details, I hadn't looked at actually what was in there. And so I'd drawn my own reflection. It was a very blurry pink blob, but all the same, it's obviously that somebody was taking the photograph of the gem, so that was on there.
And you could have entered that into a portrait section of an exhibition.
Yeah, it wasn't clear enough for that. It was more like a pink smudge. So yeah.
And obviously now you're getting known as the big cat lady.
Yeah. The gems all sort of slid away a bit, and then I was trying to do various other things. I did play with flowers for a while. I had one flower, Duvet Day, which was a rose that I was really chuffed to do, because that took me years to get right. And then I was then got cakes, and I was trying to do gems, and I was trying to do flowers and various animals, and I just felt I was spreading myself too thin. There was just too many different things that I wanted to do, too many pictures to choose from. And on our 30th wedding anniversary, my husband said, I've treated you to a photography day at the Big Cat Sanctuary. And I thought, how has he done that for? Why on earth has he done that? Because I'd always said, why draw tigers and lions? Everybody draws those. What's the interest? Why are they so fascinating? So anyway, needless to say, I went along, had a fabulous time, and it totally changed my viewpoint of what to draw. That was it. It's just the last couple of years have been big cats, which has been amazing. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that day, and it's altered my viewpoint on drawing lions and tigers.
And the other thing as well, you move between mediums, so you can... I don't understand why I would do it for myself, but it'd be good to explain sort of like why one picture you'll go, right, do you know that that's going to be a pastel picture, or another one's going to be a pencil picture, and what influences you to use a particular medium for a particular, like the recent line that you did, was it Kasanga?
Yeah, Kasanga was all pastels.
That's pastels.
Yeah.
Suited it perfectly.
Yeah.
So what made you that day go, right, I'm doing that pastels, or had you already decided he was going to be pastel?
Sometimes I know. I'd always sort of thought once I'd switched to pencils, I was going to stay with pencils and that was going to be it. Then in 2015, when I had my back surgery, I had back problems, I was bedridden for quite a while, I had to switch to something else because I couldn't use pencils, so I switched to watercolour pencils and did a few watercolour ones because I could do those lying down and it didn't matter that they were a bit looser. So I thought, okay, so I can use other things with my coloured pencils. I'd also played with an airbrush, which was great. Then, like I say, I've used pastels as well. I sort of look at a picture and think, yeah, I think of it in polychromos colours. So that's my first thing, is always what colours am I going to use, or how is that going to work? And it tends to be always in polychromos ones, because those are my sort of like the main things that I started from. Then I'll sort of look and think, yes, I can do it in pencils, and that's how as I start, it's right, this is going to be pencils. But for some reason, sometimes I sort of drift, and I'll be looking at my trolley with my pencil colours there, or I'll be looking in here and I think, okay, that colour isn't quite right, and I tend to drift and sort of think, okay, look at the pastels or look at whatever else, and that can sometimes lead me. Now sometimes that means that I'm just adding pastels to pencils, and sometimes like Kasanga, I just think, no, okay, we'll do the whole thing in pastels. It's almost like the materials lead me rather than me leading in them. I'll sort of have a good intention of what I want to do, and then I turn around and I suddenly realise I've got a trolley full of stuff that I didn't really originally intend on using, and it's just taken over.
I think it's the artist's subconscious sort of, it's just the creative is taking control. Yeah. It's like you're not even thinking about it, it's sort of almost dictating to you, and the subject sometimes, and the mood and the feel and everything like that. It's not one specific that's saying you're going to use this for this. It's sort of a natural development as you work through a piece. It
isn't always the same. I mean, most of the time you can just sort of think, okay, pencils, get them all out, plonk, plonk, and it's done. But sometimes you look at a picture and you think, I know what I want this picture to look like. I mean, the one I'm doing now, it's not what I wanted. It's what I want now, but it isn't what I envisaged. I'd got the pastel matte colour in my head picked out, I got the pencils picked out, but I thought, oh, oil pastels, haven't come across them for a while, let's have a go, give them a whirl. And that's what I've ended up using, and it's on a totally different colour, pastel matte, and with a totally different medium, but that's fine. And it worked out. I mean, I did change the paper once, but yeah. So.
And I think a lot of people get caught up on that, especially with social media. I know when I started out, I felt quite sort of like I was criticised quite harshly, as if I brought in some pastel to create an effect or a colour or a texture by the purists, and some of the purists, it's great, you know, colour pencil purists. And I do pure pencil drawings, and I do them specifically so they are pure pencil, but people don't have to be. There's no rules, and there's no rules to break either. You just do what you feel, whatever feels right when you're creating.
I was caught up in that when I first started, because originally when I started joining all the coloured pencil groups, and like you say, there's the purists, and they don't want OMS, they don't want odorless mineral spirits, they don't want anything like that on there. They want it all just pure pencil, and I was caught up in thinking, oh, that's the way I've got to go. And then I thought, hang on a minute, I want to play, I want to do what I want to do. And it apart from if you're going into a specific competition where it calls for 100% pencil, it doesn't matter, you can do what you like. That's the whole point with art. There's a load of other people in the art world doing all sorts of wonderful things, and coloured pencil artists don't need to be pigeonholed into, you've just got to do coloured pencil. You've got to use that medium to the best of your ability, but put other things with it as well, improve on it. Don't just let it it's just a drawing, let's leave it at that. You can actually make it so much more if you just expand your horizons a little bit. you know.
Fantastic. So looking ahead then, I know that now obviously you're exhibiting as well, and open studios is another big thing for you. It's something I've never done, but I've seen the results of your open studios and been along. I think it's amazing. So any words of encouragement or advice for people to get themselves out there, really? Because I know that's a real stumbling block for confidence wise for people to get themselves out there.
Yeah, open studios is a wonderful way to begin. I've done a couple of small events, local events, which feels a bit traumatic when you're having to bundle everything into a car, take everything with you, trying to remember, and then you've got to worry about taking money and things like that if you're lucky enough to sell anything. Whereas open studios, you're on your home ground and people come to you. You've got everything around you that you need, which is fine. You set your home up in plenty of time, so you're not struggling to lay everything out in the wind and the rain. And it's wonderful because people are coming into your home, so you can have it nice and welcoming. You can make cups of tea, you can have a chat, and people are more comfortable. It's not like being in a gallery or at any other event. They can chat to you and you can show them what you do. You can have work in progress lay out on the side so they can see what you're doing and how you work. And it's a wonderful way to boost your own confidence and your own ability at talking to members of the public. So yes, I'd recommend open studios to anyone. It's well worth doing. I know that a lot of counties do it now. Worcestershire's is at the end of every August, and then another local one, Herefordshire, is shortly after that. And they're very, very popular. So yeah, definitely recommend those.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Deb, for talking to us today and sharing some of your story. I've loved listening and I've learnt new things as well. So the next thing we're going to do is some of those pictures that we spoke about, like Home Sweet
Home Sweet Home,
and a few of those. Hopefully we might be able to get some images from Deb, and we'll have those popping up on the screen as she's been talking. So we're going to do through the studio door now, and we're going to have a little tour of the studio, and also we'll then get Deb just to give us maybe her top 3 items that she wouldn't be without in her her work. Only 3. Yeah, I'm gonna make it really tough for her. Only 3. But we'll just talk about the items around the room as we do a little tour. Okay, so now we're going to go behind the studio door. We do have a little studio assistant, Luna, and she is going to be star of the show as well. Are you going to come in with us, Luna, and show us around? No, she says no. She's not unless my mummy's coming. Okay, so we're just going to go around Deb's studio now, and Deb's going to explain to us about some of her setup.
Up there, Pride of Place, my signature status of the CPCA Pencil Society. Pencil Society. I just suddenly had a minor block there. There we go. And here's my storage. I've got some older originals here, and you can see proofs, mounts, and mementos. Lots more mounts, cards for when I do events, and more storage stuff and postage stuff as well.
And that's fabulous. You've got everything packed up, ready to go. You just need to get it out, double check what's in there.
Yeah, stock take.
And you're off.
Yeah, and then the top bit there is some works in progress or some things that need working on. Some prints, giclées, which I get done with my local printer.
Fabulous.
Iris print. So they're really good to have those. So
and you always mount and back yours, don't you? Before you
I mount them back. Well, I prefer to send them out mounted. It protects them as well when I send them out, so that's what I prefer to do.
Okay.
Yeah. And then over there we've got the wolf, which is a photograph. I took the photograph when I was with Lisa at the Wolf Sanctuary, so that's got very happy memories. And then my squirrel that visits my garden. Bless him. Now, I have got a big printer there, which I used to use to do my own prints, but I don't use it anymore now because I use Iris print instead, so it's just there gathering dust at the moment, and eventually I'll get rid of it.
And you've got a lovely view out the window.
Yeah. No
noisy neighbours or anything?
No, I hope those lot don't get noisy. Apart from Halloween, it can get a bit raucous. And then there's mount up originals and mounted up prints, and some cushions there just in case I need a cushion to sit on. Bumblebees.
You always need one when you do a demonstration somewhere you're not sure of. You always get an uncomfy chair, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's your main workbench here, then your tools.
Yeah, this is so handy as trolley. It's really useful. So wheel that around the room wherever I need it. And top shelf is always the current pencils that I'm using.
Oh, you've got these brilliant giant clips with the cups in.
Yeah, they were from Mountain Warehouse or somewhere like that. Really handy. So they used to be supposed to be for camping, but absolutely perfect for things like this.
Oh, they're brilliant. I've never seen those before.
Really useful.
And a great big dusting brush. Is that like a blusher brush?
Yeah, just a cosmetic brush.
Yeah.
A lot of my brushes, the ones I use for my pastels up here as well. In this Lisa Ann Watkins mug.
I've got my brushes of these still to use, the makeup brushes. I'm going to give those a try next month.
That's handy.
And there's some of your gems.
Some of my gems.
That starred in your drawings.
Yeah. Yeah, a bit of glitter in the room.
Fab. And you've got, you've got an electric sharpener there as well as the Jacquard.
There's an electric one and there's a couple of other manual ones, and then the Jacquard as well.
That's your main workhorse, though, isn't it?
The electric one is the one that's obviously for speed. The Jacquard hand one, handy. And then that there is for doing my pastels.
Yeah.
Which is really handy, really useful for pastels, sharpening.
And you've got lots of blending tools.
Yep, because I'm using oil pastels at the moment, neo pastels at the moment.
Yeah, you've got them packed there, haven't you, neo pastels?
In that.
So for anyone who hasn't seen Deb's latest piece, which we were talking about earlier, it's this gorgeous seal. Absolutely stunning. And Deb's been working on it using these neo pastels.
So the neo pastels are being used for the watery effect and for the blues, the blue greens. The actual seal itself I've done with Prismacolor, the brown colours, because obviously it's a finer detail. But I don't usually use Prismas, but they've been brilliant for that because they're so soft and blendable. So I haven't used polys on this one.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you've got your glass tilted drafting table there.
Really handy. So
daylight lamp.
Yeah. And then I use a tablet as well to draw from, so I can get lots of details. So I much prefer to use a tablet than to use a photograph to work from. It's a lot easier.
And you've got this wicked little thing for recording.
Yeah.
Hubby's put in a nice sliding pole up there.
Yeah, so whenever I want to video anything I can use that.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. And then the other thing underneath there, you can see my engineer's chest, and that's full of pencils, which is, you can always buy pencil containers from places other than pencil shops.
Absolutely. An engineer's box are just beautiful anyway, aren't they? So
brilliant.
Here's your beautiful, you've still got yours in your nice wooden chest. I might put mine back in my wooden box because I do miss being in it. I think it's a nicer box.
But I just know then exactly what I've got, so
it's
easier to stock take as far as that's concerned. It's not always that tidy, but yeah.
All your books?
Yeah, loads and loads of books.
And of course we can't miss, I've got a reflection from the window, but we've got your wonderful David Shepherd Awards 2 years in a row at the Wildlife Art Society Internationals.
Yeah, couldn't believe that. Really pleased.
We could. Those of us that were there, we knew. We knew. Yeah. So more drawers here.
More pencils, yeah.
More pencils.
Yeah, lots and lots.
Quite nice that you've got dividers in there as well. I know mine haven't. So you can section your colours off, which is really nicely.
Yeah. And then under there, I've got the scanner, and that's my little drawers for ink and things like that. So I only use. Somebody mentioned on the other day on a Facebook thing they wish they had a big scanner like I have. I haven't. I've only got an A4 one. Yeah. And then I just stitch the images together online on Microsoft Ice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So. Yeah.
Fabulous. So top 3 things that you wouldn't be without?
Pastel mat.
Yeah. Pastel mat.
Polychromos, I would say.
Which pencil's polychromos?
Yeah, it's got to be polychromos.
Yeah.
And my tablet, I think, because I have to zoom into everything to see the details. So I really do enjoy working with that.
Fantastic. And of course we can't leave that most important area of the room.
You're going to go sit on your bed? No.
Studio assistant, as always, as they don't work with animals, but this is the beautiful Luna, who has been a model, and she looks after her mummy and keeps her company.
She's a good girl. Well done, darling.
Thank you very much, Luna and Mummy Deb, for letting us into your studio today, and I hope everyone at home has enjoyed watching the video.